The National Gallery's bold leap into modern art is shaking up the Tate's territory, and it's stirring quite the debate. This week, the National Gallery revealed a staggering £375 million in philanthropic funding to support a major expansion of its Trafalgar Square premises. But this isn't just about adding more space. The so-called Project Domani breaks a long-standing, unspoken rule dating back to the 1990s by planning to exhibit artworks created after 1900, a move that directly challenges the Tate's traditional domain. Gabriele Finaldi, the National Gallery's director, is clear about his vision. The story of painting is continuous, and the gallery must evolve to tell the full narrative, including modern art. The official announcement emphasizes this point, stating that the National Gallery and the Tate have forged a historic partnership aimed at collaboratively enhancing the UK's world-class national art collection for everyone's benefit. But here's where it gets controversial. Senior figures in the cultural world rarely air disagreements publicly. Yet Finaldi's comments on the BBC's Today program hinted at underlying tensions. He stressed that the 1900 cutoff between the two institutions' collections isn't as rigid as people think. But the reality is that this new project is a strategic power move. It's about who will lead the national conversation on visual art at a time when museums are grappling with how audiences engage with art in an increasingly digital world. The Tate has been facing its own challenges, especially with visitor numbers dipping. A decline the Tate attributes largely to Brexit and the COVID pandemic. However, before the pandemic, the National Gallery, despite focusing solely on classical and Renaissance paintings, was matching Tate Modern's visitor figures year after year. This suggests that the public's love for traditional art remains strong. Meanwhile, Tate Britain, located at Millbank, has seen a steady drop in visitors, partly because its narrative on British art has become a somber reflection on decolonization, which hasn't always resonated with audiences. So, despite the official talk of collaboration and mutual support, the National Gallery's move is undeniably self-serving and significant. More importantly, it opens up important questions that modern Britain hasn't fully confronted. How should public collections and taxpayer money be allocated between historical and contemporary art? What truly distinguishes British art from foreign art, and which should be prioritized? Unlike the National Gallery's clear and coherent focus on European painting up to 1900, the Tate's collection is a patchwork shaped by a century of efforts to promote modern British art as something separate from the broader category of modern art. Originally founded in 1926 as the National Gallery of British Art, the Tate later became the home for modern foreign art, including the French Impressionists. After World War II, the Tate, now independent from the National Gallery, concentrated heavily on modern British art, somewhat neglecting international works. This inward-looking approach persisted until Nicholas Serota's tenure, during which he championed European and American contemporary art, filling in the gaps. Serota attempted to clarify the Tate's confusing mission by dividing the collection between the newly established Tate Modern and the renamed Tate Britain at Millbank. Yet, this division never fully succeeded. From the turn of the century through the era of globalization and up to Brexit, Tate Modern thrived as a global hub for contemporary art, while Tate Britain struggled, often feeling overshadowed. Many contemporary British artists resisted being labeled as simply British, viewing it as dull or outdated. This left Tate Britain grappling with a difficult question. What relevance does British art hold today? In a predominantly left-leaning art world burdened by the legacy of empire, the answer has often been a dismissive, not much. Now that the 20th century is firmly in the past, the National Gallery no longer accepts the Tate's exclusive claim to modern art. Beneath the polite language of partnership, one institution is clearly positioning itself as the ultimate home for all art in Britain. And when one gallery has £375 million in funding secured, while the other is struggling financially, the outcome seems almost inevitable. So, what do you think? Is the National Gallery's expansion a necessary evolution for British art, or is it an aggressive overreach that undermines the Tate's legacy? Should these institutions collaborate more closely, or is competition healthy for the arts? Share your thoughts below. This debate is far from settled, J.J. Charlesworth is an art critic and editor at Art Review magazine.